So
yeah. And let me ask y'all, did y'all hear about this situation with Pat Beverly? He had his podcast, he had a podcast. And remember, he got into some trouble. He had a legal issue with him and his little sister or something. And so he had a podcast. He started a podcast with a friend of his. And this dude was basically unknown, right? So Pat Beverly got into some legal trouble. And I think Pat Beverly was with Barstool.
Oh, point name.
So what they did was they took Pat Beverly off of the podcast until he ironed out his legal issues, right? But by the time that situation was resolved and he came back, the guy who he started the podcast with basically said he didn't want to do the podcast with him. They just wanted to keep it the way it was without Pat Beverly. And so I think that's like a cautionary tale. If you look at like how Shannon Sharp had his podcast set up, that was his. And if you was a sponsor on there, if whatever product you want to promote or sell on there, even when Shannon Sharp had his legal issue, like nobody, no sponsor could say, well, sit this out until you iron the situation out with this young lady. You know what I mean? And so like these guys, man, Gilbert Arenas did the same thing. You know, like they set up shop in his house and then tell him he can't be on the podcast. You know, I just think these guys, man, like
when somebody else has ownership over it.
So how because this your wheelhouse, Mike. How does that happen? How does that happen?
Let me say this: when you sell your name and your likeness, just like in a record business, you come up with an idea, you develop the idea, and then a company will come along and say, "All right, we can help you take it to the next level." But part of taking it to the next level is you got to give them creative